Hello, aspirants, and welcome back to this Rungta IAS Academy Explainer. I'm Faculty A.
And I'm Faculty B.
Today, we're taking a deep dive into a really crucial crossover case study for your General Studies Papers 1 and 3. We are decoding the devastating Uttar Pradesh storms.
Right. Let's jump straight in. Because we aren't merely looking at what happened on the ground here. For the mains, we really need to understand exactly why a completely predictable weather event spiraled into such an unforeseeable tragedy.
So, late last week, a highly violent pre-monsoon system essentially barreled right into UP. We're talking massive dust storms, severe lightning, and incredibly heavy rain. By May 14th, the toll was absolutely heartbreaking. 111 deaths spread across 26 districts. To put that into perspective for your exam, this makes it one of the absolute deadliest weather events the state has seen for the May-June period since 2018. Now, to understand exactly how this happens from a GS1 geography perspective, you really have to look at this entire state as one massive atmospheric convergence zone. Picture this. From the west, you've got the scorching, completely dry Lu winds sweeping straight across the plains from the Thar Desert. And then, meeting them head-on from the southeast, are these heavy, moisture-laden winds traveling all the way from the Bay of Bengal. When these two completely contrasting systems meet, it creates an absolutely textbook case of orographic lift. As these air masses collide over the undulating Vindhya hills, especially around districts like Mirzapur and Sonbhadra, the air is just forced upward rapidly. It has nowhere else to go. And this rapid, violent lifting is exactly what triggers those severe, highly localized thunderstorms. Exactly right. And, there was also a major compounding meteorological factor at play here. A fresh western disturbance sitting right over the northwest acted as a powerful catalyst. It essentially took this already volatile pre-monsoon convective system and destabilized it even further. The result? Wind intensities so incredibly severe that they were literally uprooting massive, deep-rooted trees right out of the ground. Okay, so that covers the physical geography mechanics. But let's shift gears to GS3, disaster management. 34 crore. Just take a second to think about that number. That is the staggering volume of red and orange alert messages that the UP government generated through the SACHET portal right after the IMD issued their warnings. So the bottom line is, they definitely knew it was coming. But here is your critical mains analysis takeaway. Alert generation does not automatically equal actionability. Sure, we have millions of warnings flying around, but we have to ask the hard questions. Were they actually geographically precise? Did they reach the most vulnerable rural beneficiaries in time? And most crucially, did these alerts actually carry actionable step-by-step instructions to save lives? Or were they just generic, broad warnings of bad weather? Well, since the recurrence of these pre-monsoon storms is entirely foreseeable, it really shines a glaring light on our severe infrastructural gaps. We're looking at highly vulnerable rural and peri-urban structures. Plus, the timing here was absolutely fatal. It hit right at dusk, a time when people were resting indoors under these fragile roofs. Combine that with unsafe electrical wiring across the state, poorly installed hoardings, and just generally weak public signage, and you've got a recipe for deadly hazards the second those intense winds hit. It really is a classic administrative paradox. You see, the state wasn't totally blind to the threat. In fact, they even had separate relief packages pre-announced and ready to go for crop and farming losses. But notice the gap there. They were heavily prepared for the post-disaster financial relief, yet the pre-disaster infrastructural resilience, actually mitigating that on-ground vulnerability before the storm hits, was practically non-existent. So as we wrap up this explainer, we want to leave you with a critical, analytical question. This is something you absolutely must prepare for, both your UPSC mains and your personality test.
Exactly. The question is this: how do we actually bridge the gap between predictable meteorological events and these seemingly unforeseeable local vulnerabilities? I want you all to think deeply about things like policy execution, rigorous infrastructural audits, and effective last-mile communication.
Spot on. Thank you so much for joining us today at Rungta IAS Academy. Keep analyzing, keep questioning, and keep studying hard.